Hey people, welcome back to the channel. This is a story in which Naruto meets Kurama in the land of waves and they have a mutual friendship. In this story Naruto shifts toward his mother's side as a Uzumaki seal master. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Leave a comment if you want to suggest fanfic. Check the description for credits and support the creator of the story. So let us begin. Chapter 74. Monsters of the Night Sea. Last time on the Uzumaki Tales. After 2.5 years away from Konoha, Uzumaki Naruto has returned from his apprenticeship underneath the Sannin Jiraiya stronger than ever and with the fully unleashed power of a Biju behind him. Naruto was quickly welcomed back with the open arms of his ever-faithful girlfriend Hyuga Hinata and all of the friends he left behind. Without Naruto in Konoha, things were most definitely quieter, but that didn't mean it was dead. Of course, after 2-half a year, things happen and a few new relationships have begun to bloom, one of which is between two of the people Naruto holds closest, Iruka-sensei and Ayame Nichan. While their relationship has met little resistance, except the expected from a protective ramen chef, another has had a most difficult time with one of Konoha's most noble clans. Regardless, the youthful love of Konoha's wild green beast burns bright for the heiress of the Kurama clan. And still another potential relationship could be in the works between Ino and a certain ice-using boy. For the first time since his departure, Naruto finally was able to spend a romantic evening, putting some of the skills he developed over the training trip to good use. At the new dancing flame, formerly the flaming leaf and site of their very first date, the young lovers took to the dance floor, only to have their evening interrupted by a mysterious attacker, who just so happened to be a member of the team in which they were assigned to in order to investigate the most recent Orochimaru activity. Now, onto the story. The first day of the mission was going perfect. The two teams consisting of Uzumaki Naruto, Momoichi Zabuza, Yuki Haku, and Yamato and Haruno Sakura, Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba, and Sai had made great distance on their travels to the land of the seas. Their mission was to investigate rumors relating to one of Orochimaru's main research bases in the area. There were multiple objectives to their A-rank, potentially S-rank mission, the rescuing of a potential Uzumaki girl being on the top of a certain Jinchuriki's list. The team's pace had slowed as they began searching for a suitable site to make camp. Today had been a good day, well, not really. What is it? The pale root agent with a creepy smile on his face. For the past 12 hours of traveling, Naruto had been staring intently at the suspicious newcomer to their group. Naruto trusted most of the members on the group. Sakura was his teammate, Kiba and Akamaru had proven that they were good friends to the blonde. Both Haku and Zabuza owed Naruto a great deal for giving them a second chance in Konoha, and Hinata was his one and only love besides ramen. Yamato Taicho, although Naruto hadn't known the man for long, seemed fine and respectable. And then there was Sai. Sai had introduced himself to Naruto by attacking him while he and Hinata were on a date, and then he had the guts to insult the blonde by questioning if he had any balls at all. Yeah, Naruto was definitely glaring with a murderous glare that made Zabuza proud right now. Please stop staring at me. Don't make me hit you. Every damn thing you say just pisses me off more, shouted Naruto. And why the hell are you here? All you do is piss everyone off. Hey. Calm down, ordered Yamato, trying to keep the peace as best as he could. Teamwork and cooperation are the most important things in a team, especially the teams that you all belong to. What's with you? It's because he's not a member of my team. He's not a part of Team Kakashi, argued Naruto. He's just some fill-in for Sasuke because Kakashi-sensei's as late as ever. And if he's just some fill-in, what does that make me? Asked Yamato, his face growing dark and a scary look appearing just inches from Naruto's face, causing Naruto to freak out. Well, what? YYRN no fill I in, stuttered Naruto. Yikes, even I'll admit that's creepy as hell, admitted Kurama. So can we resume this mission normally? Asked Yamato, getting a frantic nod from Naruto, and everyone else let out a sigh of relief. Good. Now I was hoping for something that would allow us to get to know each other a little better as a team, but sadly the resort town is still a day's journey away. After that, we'll have another day and a half before we reach the land of sea. Resort town, exclaimed a hopeful Sakura with stars in her eyes. Yes, but that's only if you behave, replied Yamato. Otherwise, we'll be spending tomorrow evening in Mokuten, 4-pillar prison. Everyone gasped in surprise with the exception of Naruto, who was already aware Yamato was a wood user, as a jutsu that had thought to have been lost resulted in a large wooden prison erupting from behind Yamato. That's Shadaime-sama's secret jutsu, Mokuten, thought Sakura. Just who the hell is this guy? Mokuten, gasped Zabuza and Haku, both familiar with the legends surrounding Senju Hashirama. Kiba was also having a hard time hiding his surprise and Hinata's pale eyes widened at the sight. Sai just remained quiet and collected, but managed by raising an eyebrow. So, can we behave ourselves? Said Yamato, using his creepy stare no jutsu. Why yes SSIR, stammered Naruto. Good. Now we'll camp here for the night, said Yamato. Let's set up camp, and get dinner cooking. Sakura and Hinata will have first watch, Naruto and Zabuza second, Haku and Kiba third, and myself and Sai last. Later that night, Oi, Gaki, called Zabuza as Naruto hopped up into the trees and took a seat next to the former demon of the hidden mist. So tell me, how are you with that sword? Well, I trained with Mifune-sensei for 6 months and... Wait. Mifune. As in Mifune of the Infinite Blades? Asked a surprised Zabuza. Naruto nodded. A gleam now appeared in the swordsman's eyes. Oh hell, you and I are definitely having a spar after this mission is over. Is that so? If you want a fight, I'll give you one, Tabeo, exclaimed Naruto. I'm looking forward to it, replied Zabuza. The swordsman then pointed to Naruto's own blade, which was resting across the blonde's lap. So what exactly does it do? You asked me earlier and I had no idea. You must have figured something out about it by now. Well, I did. I took a look at the seals on the sword and I found it has 3 abilities. The first is the use of a highly advanced absorption seal, called the redirection seal. It can take an opponent's ninjutsu, absorb the jutsu and redirect it back at them, said Naruto as he explained the first ability. That is something. The last I heard about that sword was from when it was wielded by Uzumaki Shuichi, and if I remember correctly, it took an army to bring him down. Any relation? Asked Zabuza. Great-great-grandfather, replied Naruto. Of course, this only made Zabuza more intrigued. Normally, a ninja wouldn't share information on themselves with another like this, but Zabuza was his comrade and Naruto's negative emotion sensing wasn't throwing up any red flags. Zabuza was simply curious for curiosity's sake. Also, as a comrade, it was important that they knew everyone else's abilities. So what are the other abilities? Asked Zabuza. Well, the second ability goes along with the redirection seals. Since the seals can only redirect the most recent ninjutsu they've absorbed, then if a jutsu isn't used, then it would just go to waste. Well, my sword's second ability fixes that. If a jutsu isn't redirected, the sword just converts the jutsu to chakra and stores it. That chakra can then be unleashed in a massive area of effect attack, depending on how much chakra it has stored since the last use. Flashback Naruto was currently out on his training field, taking a break from trying to develop his Rasengan further. Jiraiya had also decided to take a break from writing, although he had a few shadow clones positioned around the beach to keep up the flow of inspiration. He was standing opposite Naruto, preparing to spar with his student, as Naruto drew his sword. Mifune-sensei mentioned that there was a secondary ability that could deal with absorbing multiple jutsus, so just keep them coming, Arrow Sennin, called out Naruto. Jiraiya nodded and began. Kaden. Flame Bullet. Jiraiya's first fire jutsu collided with Naruto's sword and was quickly absorbed by the blade. Doden. Earth Dragon Bullet. The second jutsu collided with the sword and was also absorbed. Considering that Arashi had already absorbed the flame bullet, Naruto wasn't quite sure what to expect. Once that happened, nothing else happened except the jutsu being absorbed. Wanting to know what exactly would happen, Naruto unleashed the Earth Dragon Bullet back towards Jiraiya, who simply blocked it with a Doden, mud wall. Naruto then tried to unleash the flame bullet, but nothing happened. So that seal can only hold one jutsu, commented Jiraiya. Yeah. Wait. Naruto said as he noticed the Uzumaki emblem that made up the hilt of the sword letting off a faint blue glow. All of the sudden, Naruto thought he heard some sort of instruction in his mind, telling him what to do about that glowing emblem. Hey Kurama, did you just hear that? Asked the blonde. Yeah, I heard it. I don't know where it came from, but if there's someone else in here, please do speak up. It gets kind of lonely in here sometimes. Wait, Didn't this happen before when you were asked the name of your sword? You're right. Could it be Arashi that's talking? But how? Sentience, spoke Kurama. Huh? Asked Naruto. If my suspicion is correct, that sword is sentient, meaning it has its own consciousness. It's telling you about itself. It's trying to make you a worthy wielder. Wow, that's actually kind of cool. Naruto turned to Jiraiya. Okay, Arrow Sennin, I know what to do, I think. Hit me with a few more jutsus, I want to try something. Jiraiya just nodded, jumped back, and sent a few more jutsus at Naruto, who absorbed them all with his sword, and the emblem began to glow brighter. That good enough? Called out Jiraiya. I think so, here we go. Exclaimed Naruto as he held his sword vertically in front of him in one hand and placed the other hand on the emblem. Arashi. The results were immediate and Naruto's eyes lit up like a kid, or Akamichi, in an all-you-can-eat desert buffet. Chakra erupted from the emblem, spiraling out like a powerful hurricane. The chakra cloud expanded, taking up a good area of the training ground until it reached the first thing in its path, Jiraiya. Jiraiya was hit hard with the chakra cloud and thrown back into the trees surrounding the training field. The chakra cloud continued to expand outwards for a few more meters until it reached its limit and dissipated. Arrow Sennin! Shouted Naruto as he rushed over to see if his master was okay. Luckily, Jiraiya was momentarily alive, but he had a massive gash across his chest from where he had been hit that was bleeding heavily. Thankfully, the town healer was an ex-medical ninja and was able to stabilize Jiraiya before the Toad Sage bled to death. This would be another part of the trip they wouldn't be telling Tsunade. End flashback. Zabuza just whistled. Damn. That's a pretty nasty attack. Yeah. Arrow Sennin said it was the second time he almost died, said Naruto solemnly. I didn't mean to. I never thought it would be that powerful. I'm just glad he lived to prove another day. So when was the first time he almost died? Asked Jiraiya. When Tsunade Bachan caught him peeping on her. Zabuza just burst out in laughter, having become aware of Konoha's self-proclaimed super pervert. Okay, so what's the last ability? Asked Zabuza. That one, it's not something I'm hoping to use anytime soon. It's more of a last resort and it's a rather costly ability, said Naruto. It's not something I can use in a spar or against a comrade. It was designed for enemies, and I'll use it, but only if I desperately need to. The following morning, it was time to wake up and Naruto was currently in a deep slumber, resisting the sun's attempts to wake him. Just a few minutes, moaned Naruto. This pillow, so soft. Naruto was still asleep when he proceeded to rub his face in his soft pillow. Hinata began to wake as soon as she felt something rub against her own chest. The moment she realized what exactly was rubbing against her, she went a bright red, brighter than any shade of red she had ever reached before. Eek! Shrieked Hinata, waking the rest of the camp, including the person who was rubbing his face into her breasts. Naruto shot up. Hinata-chan, what's WRO? Naruto looked up to see what was wrong with Hinata, but realized she was much closer to him than they originally had begun the night. It was then that he discovered just what exactly his pillow was. Oh my god. I'm so sorry Hinata-chan. I didn't mean to. Both Naruto and Hinata just froze at that moment. Hinata-chan's. So how was your night, Kit? Asked Kurama before he broke out in perverted laughter. Make any kits yet. It wasn't like that. Arrow Kitsune. Retorted Naruto before he turned beet red. So, soft. NN Naruto-kun. Eep. Thought Hinata. She wasn't quite sure how to make of it. Most women would feel violated for a man doing such a thing to them, but this was Naruto. Over the years, Hinata had matured and so did some of her thoughts revolving around the blonde who she called her boyfriend. Doing anything sexual with Naruto was still most likely a few years off, but she couldn't deny that she wasn't beginning to think of Naruto in a more intimate way. Later that evening, the teams had arrived at the resort village along the southern border of the Land of Fire and the Land of Tea. Currently, everyone was in the middle of taking a relaxing soak in the hot springs. For guys, being together naked really makes us feel like companions, cheered Yamato as he let out a relaxed breath before looking at Naruto and using his creepy stare no jutsu. Don't you agree? Why yeah, of course, stuttered Naruto. His eyes are really terrifying. Naruto stood up out of the water, exposing himself to. Well, looks like you really do have some balls, smiled Sai. On the other side of the divider, Sakura had already begun soaking herself in the relaxing mineral water, resting her back up against the edge of the pool. The door between the changing room and the hot spring opened up with a towel-wrapped Hinata stepping out. Taking a quick glance at the Hyuga beauty, Sakura couldn't help but feel a little envious of her. Despite only being 15 years in age, Hinata's figure and breasts were something that many women there couldn't help but admire. Hinata's breasts were easily D's, if not DD's. Looking down at her own chest, Sakura sighed. I can't believe I'm actually jealous of Hinata, her chest that is. While Sakura wasn't as busty as Hinata or even Ino, her own body had developed into something more than where she was years ago. Her figure wasn't as petite as it used to be and she was also beginning to develop some more feminine curves. And while her breasts were currently B's, she couldn't help but wish that her figure was more resembling of the ones that her friends, Hinata and Ino, and Master had been blessed with. Still, she was only 15 as well, and was hopeful that she still had some time left to develop and mature. Hinata sat down next to Sakura and let out a held breath as she submerged herself in the spring. This spring is so relaxing, commented Hinata. It is. I wonder what sort of minerals they put in the water. My skin's loving every second of it, replied Sakura as her previous thoughts left her momentarily. Both girls enjoyed their bath until some loudmouths shouting rose up from the other side of the divider. What the hell? Why are you always going balls this, balls that? It's so annoying, was heard from a voice that was familiar to two deeply embarrassed girls. All the other women in the hot spring started laughing. Damn Naruto, you're too loud. It's embarrassing, thought Sakura before taking a deep breath and disappearing beneath the surface of the water. As this was going on, the water temperature spiked. The source of the increase in temperature, Hinata. Back on the men's side, hey there beautiful, what's a pretty thing like you doing over here? If you're looking for something, I've got just what you need, said a man with a grin on his face as he noticed a rather attractive and beautiful woman enter the men's bath. Naruto, Yamato, Kiba, and Zabuza sweat dropped at this. Sai just smiled. You know, Haku really can pass as a girl without too much difficulty, said Kiba. Yeah, you're only saying this because you hit on him the first time you saw him, thinking he was a girl, commented Naruto. Oh come on. Don't lie. You must have thought Haku was a girl the first time you met him, argued Kiba. Flashback as Naruto got up and realized that he was late, he headed off into the forest to use as a shortcut to get to the bridge. There, he encountered a beautiful young lady. Who are you? Naruto asked, trying to figure out what the lady wanted. Oh, is this the plant you were looking for? Yes, thank you, the woman said. Oh, that forehead protector. Does that mean you are a ninja? Yeah, you notice. I'm a ninja, Naruto said. And one day, I'm going to become Hokage, the strongest ninja in my village. The girl laughed. Do you have someone important to you? She asked. When a person has someone precious to them, they will truly become strong. Yeah, I understand that, Naruto said. I'm going to become strong so that I can protect my friends. The lady go up. You'll become strong, I know it. I hope we'll meet again sometime. I want to see how strong you've become, she said as she walked away. Oh, and by the way, I'm a boy. Naruto's world was shattered. That boy was almost prettier than Sakura, he thought. End flashback. Naruto dropped his head and sighed in defeat. Kiba merely laughed, knowing that he was right. You do realize I'm a boy, right? Haku asked the perverted old man, with a hint of disgust in his voice. Said man paled and even earned a few looks. Naruto was broken out of his stupor by an idea as he began sneaking over towards the barrier. On the other side of that barrier, hee, Hinata-chan. This will be fun, hee, giggled Kurama. Time to find out just how hot of a body that little vixen of yours has. What? That's it, I'm cutting you off, retorted Naruto. What? Damn, now, what was I doing? Oh yeah, Hinata-chan's on the other side, naked. A small trail of blood tried to drip down Naruto's nose, but his time with Jiraiya had allowed Naruto to learn to hide the telltale signs of an amateur pervert. Okay, I'm done for now. But Naruto-kun, I hope Jiraiya-sama told you about when he was younger and came very close to dying once, 6 broken ribs, both arms broken, and many ruptured internal organs. The cause, Tsunade-sama's superhuman strength. What he did was exactly what you're trying to do now. You'd better not be thinking about it, growled Kiba. Naruto froze. Hinata-chan would never do that if she found him peeping on her. At least he liked to think she wouldn't. But Hinata wasn't the only girl on the other side of the fence. Now Sakura on the other hand, oh yeah, Naruto would be dead, far beyond the point that Kurama could heal. A great meal later, and it was time for them to turn in for the night. Hinata gave Naruto a quick kiss goodnight before heading to one of their rooms with Naruto following her inside. Oh no, you don't. This is the girls' room and there's no way you're sleeping in here, especially after what happened this morning. A pouting Naruto found himself dragged out of the room by Sakura. Sakura awoke and let out a big yawn. Last night had been just what everyone needed to relax, and even Naruto seemed to calm down around Sai. Okay, maybe not that much. Sakura, still with a frizzy bed head, turned to look out her window, only to see Sai sitting on the edge of some wall overlooking the river that flowed through the resort town. Hey, drawing a picture I see? Asked Sakura, peering over Sai's shoulder. Sai was currently sitting on the wall with a sketchbook. You're really vulgar, but you seem to have a nice side too, right? Asked Sakura, trying to put on a friendly smile. That's actually a really nice picture. It's an abstract, right? What's it called? Called? Asked Sai, genuinely confused. You haven't decided on a name yet? Asked Sakura. No, that's not it, said Sai. I've drawn hundreds of pictures, but none of them have names. Really? But don't portraits have the person's name or other pictures have the situation at the time? Asked Sakura. Whenever Tusen paints, the first thing he always does is give the picture a name depending on what he's feeling at the time, Hinata explained as the rest of the group reconvened at the place where Sai was sitting. Naruto peered over at Sai's picture. HMPH. That picture's nothing special. That's right, admitted Sai. Just like your penis. What? Okay, prepare to get your ass kicked, shouted Naruto. Sai merely smiled and Hinata went bright red, again. If you've got something to say to me, stop with that fake smile and tell me to my face. That's not it at all. I really don't think anything of you, said Sai. Huh? Asked Naruto and Sakura. It's nothing. Please go ahead. I'll be right there, spoke Sai. Let's get ready everyone, announced Yamato. We've got a day and a half still until we reach the land of sea. From there, we'll do an initial recon and come up with a plan for infiltration. Orochimaru-sama, such an honor to have you, spoke a man with gray hair and a rather large head who wore a white lab coat. Now if you don't mind me asking, what brings you to my humble abode? Amachi. I've come across something intriguing in my own bloodline research and I've come to see if you have anything of which can be of use to me, Kukuku, grinned Orochimaru. I've also come to collect a few certain prisoners I loaned you to aid in your investigations. Certainly Orochimaru-sama. Right this way, spoke Amachi as he guided Orochimaru towards his labs. Orochimaru is sure to love my work. A large door into Amaki's main laboratory opened, revealing the scientist's prized experiments. Behold, the Kaima, announced Amachi. Inside the room, were numerous tanks around with suspended humanoid figures inside. A few of them, with their eyes opened, turned towards their creator and his guests, letting out a lowly hiss. It was late in the afternoon when the teams from Konoha arrived at the fishing village on the edge of the mainland of the Land of Sea. Greetings, Konoha Shinobi, welcomed one of the village heads. I thank you for responding to our request with haste, but I don't remember asking for so much. Is this really what I get for a simple investigative C-rank mission? It sounded as if the elder had done business with shinobi villages before and was surprised at the turnout from his mission. I am Yamato, captain of the team, Yamato said, stepping forward to introduce the team. Under normal circumstances, no, you would not be sent teams of this caliber for a C-rank mission. However, we have received information on the possibility that an S-rank missing ninja named Orochimaru may be involved in the disappearances of your men. As such, this mission was upgraded to an A rank, minimum. Don't worry though, you and your village are only being charged for the C rank investigative mission as the parts that make this an A rank deal directly with our own village's security. So you're saying that these sea monsters we've been seeing lately are a result of some ninja's work? Asked the elder. Sea monsters. You never mentioned that in the report you sent Konoha, replied Yamato. That's only because they just started appearing a few nights ago. We sent an updated request to Konoha, but it appears as if you arrived before getting word, explained the elder. We added the need for a B-rank mission to address this sea monster problem. I see, replied Yamato. This is starting to sound crazy. Are there really such things as sea monsters? Asked Kiba. While normally I would agree, remember this is Orochimaru we are dealing with, replied Yamato. I would be prepared for just about anything if I were you. Yeah. Those cursed seal freaks Sakura-chan and I thought were pretty close to monsters, added Naruto. Yamato said to the elder, realizing he never got a name. My apologies. My name is Takarama Yashiro, said the elder. Takarama-san, perhaps we could go inside your office and you can fill us in on everything, asked Yamato before the teams were led inside the main administrative building of the village. Over the past couple years, we've had cases of fishermen going missing, which troubling it may be, was a rarity and only during storms. We figured that they were lost as a result of those storms. However, just recently the disappearances became more frequent and our men were turning up missing on the brightest of days. There are many in this village who believe that those men were spirited away by some angry ocean spirit, but with the claim of this missing ninja coming forth from your village, I'm beginning to suspect something more. Orochimaru is known to our village as a traitor and someone who has passed well beyond the boundaries of any morals and ethical guidelines I can think of. 3 of the members on this team have first-hand experience dealing with some of Orochimaru's soldiers and they can attest that they were rather monstrous, the result of a cursed seal, explained Yamato. A cursed seal you say? Asked Takarama. Yes. When used, the user's appearance would be altered into something that would be considered demonic to most. Regarding your sea monsters, I suspect that this may be the case. Or another of Orochimaru's experiments, explained Yamato. I see, said Takarama, scratching his chin. So is there anything else you can tell me about these sea monsters? Asked Yamato. People have been reporting sightings of at least one a night, but have been too afraid to venture outside, explained Takarama. It was about a week ago that they first appeared and carried away a girl. And do you know where these monsters are coming from or where these disappearances are occurring? Asked Yamato. The monsters just appear from the ocean, and they seem to return to the ocean. However, folks have been extremely cautious around Demon Island. If memory serves, that's where most of the recent disappearances happened around, explained Takarama. I see, replied Yamato. I thank you. That'll be all for now. If my suspicions are correct, sounds like we're going for a little hunt later tonight, grinned Kurama with an anticipating smile. The teams checked into a local inn before gathering together in one room. Right. I think our best option is to investigate into these sea monsters, said Yamato, starting off the meeting. I take it we're going fishing tonight, spoke Zabuza. Precisely. It's best to find out just what exactly we're going to be dealing with before proceeding to infiltrate this base. Hey, looks like we're getting to work already, Akamaru, grinned Kiba. Kiba, Hinata, and Sai will be on reconnaissance duty. You'll be on the lookout for one of our monsters. Zabuza and Haku will be the chase team. You two will be responsible for guiding our sea monster into the trap, which Naruto and I will have ready, addressed Yamato. Sakura, being the medical expert on the team, your job will come after we have successfully captured our target. Hi, exclaimed everyone. You smell that, Akamaru. Akamaru barked in response, having also picked up the smell of something fishy. Kiba-kun, there's something about 100 meters to the right of you, Hinata called over the wireless radio. Akamaru and I just picked him up, called out Kiba over the radio. We'll send him towards your location, Haku. Kiba and Akamaru darted through the streets of the village until they stopped at the location of the fishy smell. Surely enough, there was something in the alley from which the smell came from and that something wasn't quite human. Well, what do ya know? It really is a sea monster, said Kiba, taking a good look at the thing in front of him. The thing looked like a mixture between a man and a fish, retaining a humanoid figure, but covered in bluish scales with what appeared to be fins sticking out of its arms, legs, torso, and head. The sea creature just growled at Kiba and Akamaru before shooting a jet of water from its mouth. The Inuzuka and his canine partner jumped out of the way before retaliating with a Suga. The Suga hit dead on, knocking the fish man back into a few crates. However, the attack didn't seem to do as much damage as Kiba would have liked as the fish man just pulled himself out of the crates. Kiba and Akamaru took up positions around their target, leaving only one route of escape, towards where Haku was stationed. Kiba and Akamaru made their move, charging at the fish man and forcing him to flee, just as planned. There was a junction in the roads with 3 possible paths for the fish man to head down, but as the fish man made a go for the one path that led towards the ocean, a wall of ice sprang up, blocking that way and another of the paths. This forced them down the one path that led towards the trap Naruto and Yamato had set. Looking up, Kiba sent Haku a quick nod before the ice user blocked off a few more paths up ahead, further forcing the fish man towards the end point. As the fish man rounded the corner into what he thought must have been an open street, he was met with a wooden wall as the entrance to the alleyway was sealed off with a wall of ice. Fuinjutsu. Area containment seal, called a voice before the entire alleyway lit up in a sealing matrix and ensnared the fish man. Wow, I didn't actually think we'd be catching a sea monster, spoke Naruto as he jumped down from the top of a building. Wooden bindings sprang up, completing the entrapment of the fish man, and Naruto released his seal, no longer necessary since Yamato had him. My god, I don't believe what I'm seeing, gasped Takarama as he was led by Sakura. They quickly moved the fish man into a building where Sakura could begin her analysis. On their way there, a few of the villagers had gathered to the delight of the capture of what has been terrorizing them for the past week. Okay, I'm going to begin, announced Sakura as a ball of bright green light emerged from her hand, her bodily examination jutsu active. The light easily sank into the body of the fish man and Sakura moved the light, processing the information the jutsu was sending her about their captive's condition. There's definitely human elements in this thing, said Sakura. But it's like they've been completely rebuilt to make them more fish-like. Sakura went to take a quick blood sample, but the fish man let out a scream. Everyone watched as the fish-like features began to recede from the thing until a man was left in its place. That's, exclaimed Takamaru in utter surprise. Do you know this person? Asked Sakura. I do. His name is Sanjo. He was one of the fishermen who went missing almost a month ago, explained Takamaru. I see. So our suspicions were correct in that Orochimaru is most likely behind the disappearances, said Yamato. I can't believe Orochi Tem would stoop so low into kidnapping innocent villagers and turning them into freaks. Tabeo, exclaimed Naruto. Actually, considering this is that snake bastard we're talking about, I can, replied Kurama. I'm going to do a few more tests and send the results back to Tsunade Shisho, said Sakura as she got to work. Right. Now that we've located one of the missing villagers, I think we can safely assume Orochimaru is behind the abductions and the rest of them are most likely in the base, said Yamato. So when are we going to kick that slimy ass of his, Yamato Taicho? Asked Naruto. Actually Naruto, we want to avoid Orochimaru at all costs. If Master Jiraiya's information is correct, Orochimaru has multiple bases, which means that he can't be at them all at the same time. Therefore, he's got to have someone at each base to take charge of the base. Our job is to capture this, Warden, explained Yamato. But if we were to go up against someone like Orochimaru, I don't even know if we would be successful. That still doesn't mean I don't want to kick that bastard's ass, growled Naruto, getting a bark from Akamaru. That's right boy, what do you think we've been doing for the past 3 years? If we see Orochimaru, then he's going to pay for his sick experiments, grinned Kiba. Regardless, we have our mission objectives. The villagers, the base's warden, and the locations of Yakushi Kabuto and the Uzumaki girl are top priority, said Yamato. So when are we going to go? Asked Naruto. Tomorrow. I want Sai to take Hinata and do some reconnaissance of Demon Island from the air. We'll proceed with our assault directly after, said Yamato. Now to refresh everyone on their roles. My team, consisting of Naruto, Haku, and Zabuza are the assault team. It is likely that we're going to face some form of resistance and it's our job to eliminate this resistance. If we run into any more fishmen, you are to use non-lethal force unless absolutely necessary. It's likely that those are our villagers. The other team, Sakura, Kiba, Hinata, and Sai will be in charge of locating our villagers and any prisoners that are being held. Naruto, did you make up those seals? Here, Yamato Taicho, said Naruto, handing a bundle of explosive notes to Yamato. Once we've gotten the villagers and prisoners out, our final objective is to cripple the operations of this base, explained Yamato. Uzumaki explosive notes. Those things will pack enough of a punch to level the base, Tabeo. Declared Naruto. Didn't you blow yourself up with one of those? Asked Kiba, remembering what Tenten had told everyone after Naruto had experimented with those explosive notes. Don't remind me. Hinata, do you see anything? Yamato asked over the wireless radio. Hinata was currently airborne on the back of one of Sai's ink birds. Byakugan. Hinata activated her eyes and began to scan over the island, before coming upon a hidden door on the far side of the island. I see a door. I can see a little ways into the base as well, but it goes too far under for me to see through the island with my eyes, called out Hinata. I see. Any more entrances? Perhaps underwater? Asked Yamato. Sai flew over towards a shallow bay, encompassed by island. I see a cave underneath the water. It goes into the island a little before reaching the point where it goes too deep for me to see, described Hinata. Very well, you can come back now, ordered Yamato. As the teams crossed the sea to Demon Island, a large whirlpool erupted in the water in front of them, threatening to drag Yamato's wooden boat down beneath the waves. Just keep going, Yamato Taicho. I can take care of this, said Naruto. Hopping out of the boat, Naruto water walked to the very edge of the whirlpool, doing everything to keep himself upright as the whirlpool began to suck him in. Sweden. Spiraling torrent. Using his own jutsu, Naruto formed a whirlpool of his own, directly overtop the original whirlpool, only spinning in opposite directions. The result was that Naruto's whirlpool cancelled out the original one and Yamato regained full control of his boat. Way to go Naruto-kun, Hinata congratulated her boyfriend. Using a whirlpool to cancel out another whirlpool by spinning it the opposite direction, that was actually pretty smart, said Zabuza, the one who was most familiar with the workings of water-style ninjutsus out of everyone present. They proceeded on towards the island, but not unnoticed. Amachi-senpai's not going to like this, said a man whose head had slightly emerged from the middle of the whirlpool. Said man was wearing a pair of small sunglasses that just barely hugged his eyes. I give you years and countless resources and this is all you give me. I'm seriously disappointed in you Amachi. I expected much more, hissed Orochimaru. But Orochimaru-sama, I did all of this in the name of science. I thought you would be impressed with my progress on the development of my kaima, said Amachi, dropping to his knees in disbelief that Orochimaru was not satisfied with his life's work. Your kaima project certainly was interesting, but if you thought I would be impressed by just that, you're mistaken. I have no use for these silly little things. I wanted bloodlines the likes of which the 5 great nations have never seen before, glared the snake Sanin. But Orochimaru-sama, begged Amachi as he reached for his master. Unless you have anything else to show me, I'll be taking what I originally loaned you and be leaving this place once and for all, said a cold Orochimaru. You see, unlike you, my bloodline research has actually yielded some amazing results. I can't let Orochimaru take those 2 away. I need the Uzumaki girl and that Hazuka boy. Without them, finding a way to incorporate their bloodlines into the next generation of my kaima brood will be ruined, thought Amachi as he frantically searched for a way to appease Orochimaru. Despite the injuries the snake Sanin had sustained years ago against his former teammate, Orochimaru still was far too strong to be crossed. Take me to where you keep the boy and girl. I'll leave you to your work, said Orochimaru. However, just leaving things as it was much unlike Orochimaru and he had already informed Kabuto to prepare to clean up things. Now please, Orochimaru-sama. If you would allow me to, Amachi was cut off as a large explosion ripped through the base and shook the very cavers that twisted and turned throughout the island. Is everyone ready? Asked Yamato. Once we enter, we are in enemy territory. As such, we will proceed with extreme caution. Hi. Very well. We all know our objectives. We stay together. Do not get split up, spoke Yamato before all of them were suddenly encased in a wooden box. The box began to sink beneath the earth, carrying its passengers towards one of the passages beneath them. Moments later, the wooden box opened up, revealing the teams to now be in a dimly lit corridor. They were now in the lair of the sea snake. Chapter 75. Lair of the Kaima. As one of the walls of the wooden passage gave away, the 2 teams emerged into a dimly lit passage beneath the surface of the mountain. They had successfully infiltrated the lair of Orochimaru in the land of seas. Now came the hard part, accomplishing their objectives without causing too much trouble. Hinata, do you see anything? Asked Yamato as Hinata activated her eyes. I can see through these walls. The passage we are in extends for about 300 meters before reaching a staircase that leads down a few levels, explained Hinata as her Byakugan extended her vision further, giving her a look at what lay ahead. I can make out a few passages below us, but there is too much rock between us and them for me to get an accurate look. Any resistance? Asked Yamato. Yes, I can see a few traps up ahead in this corridor. They look to be triggered via pressure plates, so if we avoid the plates, we should be fine, spoke Hinata as she led the way for the first corridor, pointing out the plates that activated the traps and guiding them safely through the entryway into the lair. Based on Hinata's discovery of multiple pathways in the facility, Yamato hypothesized that this was the first level of the lair, designed to do nothing more than stop people from entering with a series of traps, which if they didn't have the Byakugan, would prove rather effective against most intruders. The prisoners would be in the lower levels with the laboratories, living quarters, and other facilities being between them and the prisoners. Moving down into the second level of the base, Hinata saw that the arrays of traps present on the first level had disappeared, supporting Yamato's hypothesis, and they continued down another hallway until reaching a second staircase that led downward. Stepping out into the third level, they were in a rather large room with a walkway leading through the middle of the room, bordered on either side by large ponds. Huh. What's that I sense? Thought Naruto as his sensory abilities picked up some form of malcontent towards the group in that chamber. The blonde made a quick signal to the rest of the group, all of them picking up some sort of presence in the room due to either chakra sensing or an out-of-place scent. The team took formation as they crossed the room, Hinata taking up the middle, Haku the rear, and Zabuza taking point. Everyone else was distributed between them. As they reached the threshold, they were greeted by another flight of stairs, leading down. Thankfully, they faced no confrontation in the third level, but they were all certain someone, or something, was aware of their presence, putting everyone on guard. As they reached the fourth level in the lair, there were various chambers lining the corridors. As they came upon a slightly open door, they could see a faint light escaping the chamber. Yamato made a quick hand signal and Haku nodded, having been familiar with the Anbu style of signaling. The ice user formed a few mirrors just on the inside of the door, giving him a look inside. On the inside of the door, there looked to be numerous scrolls and journals lining desks and shelves. Yamato Taicho, I can see chakra signatures 2 levels directly below us, announced Hinata. She focused her Byakugan a bit harder to get a clearer picture through the surrounding earth that the base was carved out of. I can see what appear to be both prisoners and guards below. I see, replied Yamato as he took a moment to think. Right, this is where we'll be splitting up. I'm going to send the retrieval team down to rescue the prisoners while my team remains here to gather what information we can regarding what's going on in this base. However, now that I think about it, your skills are better suited for up here. So in that case, I'll need someone to, I'll go, Yamato Taicho, Tabeo, volunteered Naruto. Very well, Yamato nodded. You, Hinata, Kiba, and Sakura will proceed 2 levels below to rescue what prisoners are down there. Myself, Zabuza, Haku, and Sai will remain up here to sort through and find any relevant information. Once you've verified that you have every prisoner and that none of them are enemies, meet back here in 30 minutes. Also, be sure to plant those explosives. They will be most effective when concentrated in the lower levels of the base. Hi, addressed Naruto, Hinata, Kiba, and Sakura, before taking off down the passage and proceeding on towards the lower levels. So far, so good, thought Yamato. However, I have a bad feeling it's only a matter of time before we encounter some resistance. Below the island and ocean surface, in a cold and damp cell, a lonely girl could be seen huddled in a corner, her head buried into her knees. Said girl had tattered clothes, and cracked glasses. However, the most striking feature of her was her bright red hair, that even dirtied, retained a vibrant shine to it. Why? I thought Orochimaru was going to promise to bring my family, my clan, back with the secrets from Uzushiogakure, thought the girl. I would have done anything to get my parents and the family they spoke of back. Why did he have to lock me in this damp cell? It's like he just tossed me aside to be that big head fish Frake's little play toy. Said girl had the unfortunate pleasure of calling this damp cell home for almost 2 years. It was here where the scientist in charge of this facility would visit her to collect multiple blood samples, most likely as a way to try and uncover the secrets behind her bloodline. She had gone from being a promising subordinate of Orochimaru to this. Once she returned from the failed mission to Uzushiogakure, Orochimaru sought to have her return one more time, but it was discovered that the man she and Kabuto had encountered, Jiraiya was the name mentioned by Kabuto, had done something to lock her out of her ancestral home. Once that happened, Orochimaru had no more use for her, and like all useless things, he just tossed her aside. Of course, she still had her bloodline which she inherited from her father's side of the family, the non-Uzumaki side, which was what stopped Orochimaru from just disposing of her outright. Instead, she was shipped to one of the research labs while research could be conducted on her and her bloodline. Once Orochimaru and his researchers got as much out of her as they could, then she would be sacrificed to aid in Orochimaru's own personal bloodline research. What this was, she wasn't entirely sure, but the fact that she was going to be sacrificed wasn't a good sign. I wish someone would come and get me out of this hellhole, thought the girl before letting out a depressed sigh, that seemed to take a good portion of her remaining energy with it. Being a prisoner, living conditions were nowhere near ideal. She was given just enough food to support life, but besides that, all she could really do was sit in the cell and wait for the day when Amachi had enough of her and she was sent back to Orochimaru to be sacrificed. Who am I kidding? No one's coming for me. I'll never get to see my clan restored. If it wasn't for that Jiraiya guy and that blonde-haired kid, then I wouldn't be here. What were they doing in my ancestors' home anyways? Trying to steal their secrets. One of the guards paced past the red-haired girl's cell, like she had seen him do for the past 2 years. He just gave her a look of insignificance before returning back to his duty. The guard was a rather large and muscular man who had been in charge of taking care of the prisoners in Amaki's base. In all honesty, getting out of this cell was rather easy. She had studied some basic sealing techniques and knew how to draw one that could get her out of this cell. Even if she didn't have any ink nor was she skilled enough to write a seal with chakra alone, she still had her blood that she could use to make the seal. However, even if she found a way to escape this cell, there was no way she'd be able to overpower this man in her current condition. It was just as the guard began to walk away that a familiar chakra signature came to her attention. However, this wasn't a chakra signature that she was used to sensing. This chakra, it can't be. This chakra she sensed was one she could faintly remember, from about 3 years ago. The guard made another pass by her cell, and the very moment he turned around, a kunai soared towards the back of his head. However, this wasn't enough to defeat him as the guard detected the kunai and turned around to catch it, only there wasn't one kunai, there were dozens. It was too late and the kunai impaled themselves into his face, killing him almost instantly. The girl couldn't believe it. The largest obstacle in the way of her freedom had just been killed with a mere flick of a kunai, or dozens of kunai. I smell something over here, called out a voice as a large white dog appeared in front of her cage. The next person she saw, however, was even more surprising. You! She shouted, seeing the same blonde boy that she had seen in Uzu, only slightly taller and wearing a flowing red cloak with the Uzumaki spiral on it. The 4 Konoha ninja consisting of Yamato, Sai, Zabuza, and Haku were busy sifting through various notes and journals. So far, there were a lot of entries regarding this Kaima project, and based on what they had seen the previous night in the village, those fish men were the results of this project. Finishing up in one office, Zabuza moved on to the next room, slowly opening the door and peeping inside. A dim light lit the room and Zabuza could make out that there were 3 scientists inside. At the far back of the room, there was a large tank filled to the top with water and a number of tubes and pipes coming out of the tank. Alongside the tank, there were 4 cylindrical glass tubes that had what looked to be half-transformed humans. And the transformations weren't pretty. One had a massive tumor sticking out of his shoulder. The former demon of the mist readied his sword. He was going to do what he did best, silent killing. In the slightest moment, Zabuza moved, swiftly moving towards the first scientist with his hand on the blade and with a single swipe of his sword, cut through the necks of his first target and even the one standing close enough to the first one to be within range of Zabuza's decapitating strike. The third scientist saw his 2 colleagues fall, but was too late to even get a breath out as Zabuza's blade slashed across his neck. Zabuza-sama, called out Haku as the ice-using shinobi entered the room. It's too late for these people, said Zabuza as he took out his blade and slashed through the cylindrical tanks, putting the innocent victims of these horrific experiments to rest. Just as Zabuza turned to leave, a pair of eyes peered out of the large water tank in the middle, staring at the ex-swordsman of the hidden mist with great interest. Wow, I can't believe our luck that we actually found you, said Naruto as he eyed the red-headed girl in the cell in front of him. What the hell are you doing here? Shouted the redhead. Is that any way to thank the one who's here to rescue you? Asked Naruto. You're the reason I'm in here, retorted the young Uzumaki girl. Do you two know each other? Asked Kiba. We met once in Uzushiogakure, said Naruto. What the hell were you even doing there, you grave robber? Sure, just because my clan's dead doesn't give you the right to go and pillage everything that belonged to them. Argued the girl. What do you mean, what was I doing there? You were the one trying to steal stuff for that snake Tem, Orochimaru, replied Naruto. Or so going to be detected, thought Sakura, Kiba, and Hinata. Can you two argue later? Shouted Sakura trying to stop the arguing, but only adding more noise to the current situation. Fine, stand back, replied Naruto as he formed a Rasengan and smashed the lock to pieces before Sakura ran in to check on the health of the girl. She's malnourished and low on energy and chakra, but her health seems to be okay, said Sakura. So who are you, really? Asked the girl with a hint of venom towards Naruto. Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto, Naruto introduced. You, Uzumaki? Asked a now surprised girl. Yeah, I may not have the signature red hair, but I can assure you that I am an Uzumaki through my mother, said Naruto. Prove it, replied the girl. Come on, we really don't have time for this, egged on Sakura. Sakura-san, there's a few prisoners over here. They look like villagers and fishermen, called out Hinata from another corner of the prison. Sakura left Naruto and the Uzumaki girl to themselves as she went to check on the other prisoners. Naruto reached to the miniature scroll on his necklace and made a quick hand seal before it promptly expanded. This is the Uzumaki family tree, said Naruto. There's a blood seal on it that only an Uzumaki can open it with. As he said that, Naruto undid the blood seal and unraveled the tree, revealing his heritage and the tree of the land of Iron Uzumakus. The girl's eyes widened as she saw Naruto's name and an image of him on the tree of the head family. Now just place a drop of your blood on this seal and it'll tell you where you are in clan. Not having much to lose, Karen did as instructed. To say Naruto was surprised when it was revealed that Karen's mother was the younger sister of Uzumaki Hayase, Naruto's maternal grandfather, was an understatement. Naruto saw the name, Uzumaki Karen, materialize on the tree, not too far from Naruto's. I know this would put Karen a generation ahead of Naruto, but realized that it is entirely possible if Karen's mother was at least a few years younger than Kushina's parents, making her a young teenager by the time Kushina was born and also giving birth to Karen at an older age than Kushina. I imagine Kushina only being in her early, mid-20s when Naruto was born. Welcome to the family, Karen Nichan, smiled Naruto. This in turn caused Karen to smile back at the warm smile and energy that Naruto was giving off. If you two are done settling family matters, we're all set to go. We just need you to make some clones to help carry the prisoners out, said Sakura. Right, agreed Naruto as he made enough clones to carry the prisoners. Let's set these explosives and get back to Yamato Taicho. Handing a few explosive notes to Kiba and Hinata, the three of them quickly went to work littering the lowest levels of the base with explosives. Naruto had been sure to make enough and they were very liberal about using them. Well, Orochimaru-sama never said anything about Konoha ninja, called out a voice from the door. Everyone's attention turned to see three ninja in their way wearing Oto headbands, indicating that their allegiance was not to Amachi, but to Orochimaru himself. I'd say we're in luck. I was just dying to kill something, another ninja said as black markings began to take over the bodies of the three Oto ninja. Sakura, we'll make an opening. Once we do, I want the three of you to make your way to Yamato Taicho and let him know that we've recovered the prisoners. I'll stay down here and once you're all out of here, I'll take these guys out, said Naruto. Oh sure, trying to be a hero are you. Akamaru and I aren't going to let you have all the fun you know, smirked Kiba. It's not that Kiba. I have something that can take care of these guys, but I can't do it with you guys and the prisoners around. Besides, what if there are more enemies up ahead, said Naruto. Fine, just make sure you catch up, said Kiba. Naruto-kun. Don't worry Hinata-chan, I'll be fine. I promise you that, declared Naruto as they prepared to break through the three Oto ninja who were now displaying the first stages of the cursed seal transformation. No, why did it have to be him? Sighed defeated Zabuza mentally. He had detected a presence in the tank and quickly moved to eliminate the possibility of a sneak attack. The glass on the tank shattered and water spilled out across the floor. But then a young man began to rise, forming from the water itself. Unfortunately, a pair of pants didn't form from the water either. Haku braced himself for the battle but Zabuza was now smacking himself on the head repeatedly. Well if it isn't Zabuza-senpai, the water boy said. Zabuza-sama, you know him? Asked Haku. Sadly. This is Hazuka Suigetsu. I met him when he was just a kid before leaving Kurigakure. His brother, Mangetsu, was a member of the Seven Swords. Last I heard, he's still working with that bastard Yagura along with the remaining 3 of the 7 who haven't defected, explained Zabuza. If I remember correctly, you had a habit of trying to chop of the limbs of anything that had them. And you constantly bugged by about trying to get a hold of my sword. Suigetsu just smirked that Zabuza had such a fond memory of him. Now why don't you just give me that sword of yours and I can hack my way out of this place? Hell no. But that these instead, Zabuza said as he reached into his pack, taking a storage scroll and unsealing a pair of black Anbu-style pants. What's the problem in here? Called out Yamato as he entered the room, preparing to attack Suigetsu if the Hazuka tried anything funny. Nothing, we just met one of Zabuza-sama's old friends, smiled Haku, prompting Zabuza's head to drop. Are you an enemy or a prisoner? Asked Yamato. I've been trapped in a tank for months while those scientist guys tried to infuse my bloodline into those fish freaks. I think that counts as a prisoner, said Suigetsu. I can't detect any hints of him lying, thought Yamato. Fine, we'll take you along, but I'm going to have Zabuza keep an eye on you. If you try anything funny, I'm giving him permission to do what he needs to do. A glint appeared in Zabuza's eye. He didn't like the idea of having to watch Suigetsu, but he now knew that if the boy made any move for his sword, he had nothing stopping him from hacking that watery head off the boy. The rest of the team should be rendezvousing with us any moment. Once that's done, we can set the explosives and leave, said Yamato. Shadow clone jutsu, exclaimed Naruto as he created about 24 clones and rushed the 3 cursed seal Oto ninja with everyone following closely behind. However, that didn't go quite as planned as the curse seal on one of the Oto shinobi quickly advanced to level 2 and his arm transformed into what resembled a large axe. Naruto's clones didn't stand a chance as he began to hack through them. Finally, after taking another swing, his axe was met with the blade of Naruto's sword. It's rather damp down here and there is a lot of water puddle on the floor. I wonder if there's enough water. Hinata though before deciding to go through with it. Naruto-kun. Naruto quickly glanced back upon hearing Hinata and saw her beginning a jutsu. Disengaging from his opponents, Naruto retreated and the Oto shinobi began to advance before. Sweeten. Great waterfall vortex. There was enough water present in the prison for Hinata to form a small, yet still powerful, water vortex and send it crashing into the 3 Oto nin, sending them flying out of the prison and into another room that was much larger and much more open. Good job Hinata, let's go. Exclaimed Sakura as their opportunity to make a break for it came. You sure you're going to be alright against them, Naruto? Don't worry Sakura-chan, I'll be fine. I promise, exclaimed Naruto, flashing the nice guy pose. Nodding, everyone with the exception of Naruto made their break to regroup with the rest of the team. As the 3 Oto ninja began to pick themselves up off the floor, the rage induced from being washed away like that had activated the full stage 2 transformations of their seals and now they looked anything but human. The one with the axe for a hand was hunched over, both hands now sharp blades. There was another one who was standing up straight and looked rather lanky. Coming out of his hands were what appeared to be sharp claws. The last one kind of resembled a sort of dragon-like creature with wings, horns, and a scaly tail. I can't wait to rip their heads off, growled the dragon one. I'm sorry to say, but you won't be going anywhere, announced Naruto as he was now standing between them and the exit of the room. This should be far enough away from the seals. I just wish it weren't so enclosed in here. A tailed beast ball would wipe the floor with these guys, and probably bring the entire base down. Oh well. Naruto drew his blade and began channeling wind chakra into the blade. The axe ninja made the first move, slashing at Naruto, hoping to decapitate him in a single slice, but Naruto ducked underneath the attack. The clawed ninja used this opportunity to try and skewer Naruto with his claws, but Naruto brought the blunt side of his sword down upon the claws, forcing them to dig into the ground at his feet. The claw ninja tried to pull his claws free and Naruto used the momentum from this to jam the hilt of his sword into the back of the neck of the axe ninja who was just behind him now. In doing so, Naruto was able to score a shallow cut across the chest of the claw ninja before jumping back and retaking his stance, preparing for the next attack. Something feels odd, yet familiar about the energy these guys are giving off, thought Naruto. Take a look at where that cursed seal on their neck is, commented Kurama. It was then that Naruto saw it. Is that natural energy? Yeah, but it's extremely unstable. Which probably explains the huge amounts of anger and bloodlust these guys are giving off. So Orochi Tem is experimenting with natural energy. That can't be good. Ero Sennin's going to want to know about it, thought Naruto before making a good amount of clones. Just keep them busy for a bit. I want to find out a bit more how these things are using natural energy and I need Sage Mode in order to feel the natural energy better. Seeing as Naruto's clones weren't fighting in a suicidal manner, they were able to hold their own fairly well against their opponents and even score a few hits, only making them angrier. From his cover behind the door, Naruto stood up, having entered Sage Mode. A little under a minute. I've gotta on reducing the time it takes to enter Sage Mode. Where did that bastard go? Growled one of the cursed seal ninja as all the clones dispelled. Right here, replied Naruto, as he swung with his fist at the one with the axes for arms. Said Oto ninja moved his axes to block Naruto's punch, however he wasn't expecting the significant increase in strength behind Naruto's punch as he was rocketed into the walls and the blade of one of his axes shattered. Unstable natural energies an understatement, thought Naruto. It's supposed to mix with your chakra at its core. The natural energies mixing at the point of that seal and it's not stable. So not only is the balance off, but the distribution of the sage chakra is screwed up as well, commented Kurama. I say it's time to end this. Agreed. Now, there's something I've wanted to try, thought Naruto before swiftly moving in between the three Oto ninja. Uzumaki style. Whirpool slash. The movement of Naruto's sword was all a blur as it moved in a whirling motion around him, unleashing a swift and powerful slash that carved straight through the three cursed seal Oto ninja, and the wall supporting the room. Naruto dove out of the room just in time to avoid the roof that was caving down to entomb the three Oto ninja. Wow, that was a lot more than I expected, said a pleasantly surprised Naruto. You're still in Sage Mode. Of course your attacks are more powerful, Baka, retorted Kurama. Well you don't have to sound so harsh about it. Argued Naruto. What do you expect? I can't come out because of that root spy that keeps calling you dickless, responded Kurama. Yeah, I'll find a way to make it up for you. Let's just catch up with everyone else, said Naruto. Yamato Taicho. Sakura called out as they rendezvoused with the remainder of the team. A mass of orange-carrying prisoners followed closely behind, followed by Kiba who appeared to have a small scratch or two, courtesy of the few guards they encountered on the way up. We have located and secured the prisoners, and the Uzumaki girl who goes by the name of Karen. I see. Good work. Were you met with any resistance? Asked Yamato. We met 3 guards who possessed a cursed seal. Naruto remained behind to take care of them, said Sakura. As on cue, a slight shaking was felt through the base. 500 Ryo says that was Naruto, wagered Kiba. Sure, there's no way we would be able to feel dickless this deep in anyways, said a smiling sigh. Ignoring them, Sakura turned to Yamato. Taicho, what's the progress here? We are almost done. Only 2 more labs to go and we'll be ready to leave. We've met some resistance, but nothing more than a few guards, said Yamato. Sakura noticed a white-haired boy with odd purple eyes and shark-like teeth behind Zabuza wearing nothing more than a pair of pants and eyeing the blade on Zabuza's back with a lustful passion. Who's he? Hazuka Suigetsu introduced. He was a prisoner that we discovered and freed, commented Yamato. I see, commented Sakura. All the prisoners match the description of the fishermen and villagers who went missing recently. I see. Hinata asked Yamato. There are no more chakra signatures below us except for one which is rapidly approaching. That signature belongs to your teammate. Any more prisoners you're looking for have most likely died in the experimentation. To everyone's surprise, the report didn't come from Hinata but rather Karen, who was on her feet being supported by one of Naruto's clones. She's right. I see no more chakra signatures below us besides Naruto-kun, commented Hinata. But what's up with Naruto's chakra? Huh? What do you mean? Is something wrong with Naruto's chakra? Asked Yamato. Normally, his chakra is blue but with a slight red tint. I can see the small tint of red, but there's also a bright green color in the chakra, said Hinata. Green chakra? Asked Sakura. Great, what did Naruto get himself into this time? Moments later, the subject of the conversation appeared at the end of the hall. I told you I'd be right. Behind you, called out Naruto. Naruto-kun, asked a worried Hinata. Huh? Is something wrong, Hinata-chan? Asked a confused Naruto. Naruto, what happened to your eye? Asked Sakura. I swear, if you picked up some sort of disease. Wait, eyes. Oh right, I'm still in sage mode, realized Naruto. Sage mode? Questioned just about everyone. Yeah, it's something I learned with Ero Sennin. I can use the chakra from the environment around me to augment my own. I needed to use it to try and figure something out, said Naruto. Huh? What's this? Everyone looked at Naruto confused as he turned towards a blank wall. Naruto knocked on the wall, further earning a few questioning looks. There's something behind here, I can feel it, said Naruto. What are you talking about, Dickless? Asked Sai. No, he's right. It's faint, but I can sense something behind that wall, said Karen. I can see a single person inside. It looks like a young woman, but her chakra signature is faint, commented Hinata. So now how do we get to her? Rasengan. You just had to ask, Kiba, commented Sakura. Upon entering the room, they were in a rather large laboratory with a few tools and instruments around the edges, but what really caught everyone's attention was the lone surgery table in the middle with a girl lying on her back. She had purple hair that came down to her neck. A white sheet was draped over her torso and a small cart with what appeared to be surgical instruments sat next to the table, but what really stood out were the patches of scales on her head and neck. Yamato motioned to Sakura and with Hinata aiding her, the two kunoichi proceeded to check the girl. The rest of the team then proceeded to search the room for any documents and/or journals. What's this? Commented Naruto as he picked up a leather-bound book. Within moments, everyone was listening to Naruto to see what he would read. Turning to the first page in the book, Naruto began reading. May 14, 1093, N. This story is currently in May 1096. I have been commissioned by Orochimaru to investigate, discover, and create new genetic combinations that result in the expression of what shinobi deem as bloodline limits. He had graciously granted me this facility and a few of his recourses so that I may begin my research in the name of science. With there not being much more on that page, Naruto flipped to the next entry. July 7, 1093 Orochimaru has granted me with 2 potential bloodlines to observe and examine with the condition that I do not damage the subjects. One is a young girl, approximately 13 years in age. Physical description consists of red hair and red eyes. She is approximately 149 centimeters, 4 feet 11, in height with a weight of 35.4 kilograms, 78 pounds. She is of the Uzumaki clan, and possesses a bloodline not known to the Uzumakis, meaning she got it from the paternal, non-Uzumaki, side of her family. The other is a young boy, 14 years in age. Physical description consists of white hair and purple eyes with distinctive shark-like teeth. Subject is 162 centimeters, 5 feet 2, in height with a weight of 52.1 kilograms, 115 pounds. He is of the Hazuka clan of Kurigakure and possesses the hydrification technique, the signature bloodline of the clan. Everyone turned to Karen and Suigetsu. You've been trapped here for 3 years? Asked Kiba out of shock. Meh, you lose track of time, shrugged Suigetsu. Karen just looked down before sending a glance to Naruto. Orochimaru sent me here because I was no longer a use to him, commented Karen. Once I could no longer access the archives in Uzushigakure, he just tossed me aside like anyone else. Uzu. That's right, remembered Naruto. I'm sorry. I never thought this would happen, but you have to understand that there's no way I could have let Orochimaru get his hands on the scrolls in there. Don't worry, we'll get you out of here and then I'll find some way to make it up to you personally. But why did you go along with someone like Orochimaru? Karen looked down solemnly. When I was a little girl, my mother used to tell me these amazing stories about the Uzumaki clan and her life in Uzushigakure before she was forced to flee when they were invaded at the beginning of the Second Shinobi World War. She had intended to make it to Konoha with the rest of her clan, but she got separated and ended up in Kusagakure. She had always assumed that she was the last one left, until I was born. However, when I was 7, my mother and father were killed and I was orphaned. I grew up in Kusagakure and eventually became a genin there until Orochimaru found me and offered me my mother and this clan that I had only heard amazing stories about. All I had to do was help him get into the archives in Uzushiogakure and he said that he would bring my parents back and help revive the Uzumaki clan. But then, you bumped into me and Ero Sennin when you were in Uzu and we blocked you from accessing the blood seals that secured the archives, finished Naruto. After that, he found that he had no more use for me, besides my bloodline. I don't know what exactly he's doing, but he's really gone off the deep end with his own bloodline research, commented Karen. In all honesty, if you hadn't shown up, I would likely have been taken back to his own facility and sacrificed for my bloodline. Sacrificed? Gasped everyone. I didn't know. Had I known what would have happened. Naruto said before being cut off by Karen. I'm still mad at you, but I am grateful to you for getting me out of that damp cell. But if you really want to apologize, you can help me bring back the Uzumaki clan, said Karen with her energy suddenly returning out of nowhere. It must have been an Uzumaki thing. I think she's implying that she wants Dickless to mate with her and produce offspring with Uzumaki blood. Wham! Sai found himself on the receiving end of a strong right hook as he crashed into a nearby solid stone wall. Everyone just sweat dropped. That's not what I was thinking, you moron. There's no way I'd have children with blonde over here. Besides, we're way too closely related and I'm not resorting to inbreeding. That's right, I forgot, said Sai weakly as he picked himself out of the rubble. Dickless has no penis to reproduce with. That's it, I'm going to kill you. Growled Naruto, now flaring a considerable amount of Kyuubi chakra. He felt a calming hand on his shoulder and the chakra quickly receded as he turned to see a smiling Hinata reassuring him. Calmly, Hinata walked over towards. I apologize for Naruto-kun's behavior, she said sweetly, and a little too sweetly, before slamming a Juken strike straight into Sai's unprotected balls and following up with a swift strike to the root agent's chin. But don't you dare ever make fun of what is rightfully mine. Especially when I know for a fact that Naruto is more man than you'll ever be. Silence filled the room as everyone just stared at the usually calm and gentle Hinata, and Sai, who had now lost consciousness due to the extreme pain he was in. Did Hinata? Sakura was the first to speak. You do realize what exactly that statement's implying? Questioned Kurama with a perverted look creeping onto his face. Your little vixen's been peeping on you with those eyes of hers. Shut it, you Ero Kitsune, I don't want to hear it. Shouted Naruto. You can't deny it. Hell, I can smell the hormones from in here and even I don't need that to know that she's in heat. Now if I were you, I'd take advantage of this situation. I foresee a fun night of hot and steamy kit making in your near future. Fucking pervert. Cried Naruto in his mind. Even without Ero Sennin, he couldn't get away from the damned perverts. Then again, being around Jiraiya for so long had practically turned him into one. Suddenly, Hinata broke out of her womanly trance of rage and immediately went a shade of red brighter than anyone even thought possible. Did I just say that? She said, turning to the group and receiving a stupefied nod from everyone. Hinata then did the only thing she could in this situation, she fainted. After a few minutes, Hinata regained consciousness, despite still being deeply embarrassed by her little outburst. She slunk to the back of the group as Haku went on to read the journal while Naruto cooled down. Sai was still unconscious and Sakura was going to make sure he stayed that way for some time for his own good. November 19, 1094. I have discovered a young girl with a most fascinating genetic mutation. She possesses a few genetic mutations that resemble those of aquatic organisms. Unfortunately, they appear to be recessive and remain inactive. I will conduct further experiments to try and activate those genes. I will call this Project Kaima. The subject is identified by the name Isaribi and is most identifiable by her purple hair. She is approximately 21 years in age. Everyone looked over at the girl on the table. So that must be Isaribi. January 2, 1095. I have successfully managed to activate a few of the genes. Subject has shown some changes in physical appearance and scales have been appearing on parts of her head, neck, and torso. March 7, 1095. I have made another major breakthrough. I have managed to activate all the mutant genes within her DNA. The results are astounding as she has taken on what I deem as the full Kaima form. Her entire body is now covered fully in green scales and there are fins that run vertically along her neck, spine, and also forearms. Furthermore, she possesses webbing between her fingers and her feet have elongated to the point where they resemble flippers. However, the transformation destabilized and she has reverted back to her previous form. Following the recession of the Kaima form, subject was in extreme pain and in critical condition. I managed to revive her and plan to attempt to induce the full Kaima form once she has sufficiently recovered. Everyone was disgusted at the last parts of the entry. Had this researcher really pushed this girl they had found to the brink of death and brought her back only to repeat the same thing over again also he could satisfy his desire to sum up with some bloodline. April 2, 1095, subject has managed to achieve a full Kaima transformation and has maintained the form for a sustained period of time. It appears as if I have successfully activated the genes that induce the Kaima transformation. I will now begin to implant the genes responsible for the Kaima transformation in other subjects in hopes of further researching this potential bloodline. Haku read through a few more entries in the journal before coming to the final entry. May 16, 1096, announced Haku. Wait, that was yesterday, wasn't it? Asked Kiba, getting a nod from Haku. Development on the Kaima has reached a standstill. By now, I have managed to incorporate the Kaima genes successfully into 24 other subjects, however attempts to improve the Kaima form have proven unsuccessful. 14 subjects have been lost in the experimentation process. I have sent subject number 21 into town to scope out some more prospective test subjects and I intend to incorporate the Kaima genes into the remaining prisoners inside my holding cells. Orochimaru-sama is expected to make a visit tomorrow and I expect he will be most pleased with my work. Regardless, the initial specimen, Isaribi, has proven to be as much use to me as possible. I can no longer obtain any more useful results while keeping her alive. The day after Orochimaru-sama's visit, I intend to dissect her in order to obtain as much possible data regarding the Kaima form and the potentials it has for improvement. That's not good news, said Yamato. So that girl on the table, Isaribi, mentioned Sakura in a hushed voice. She was. It appears we arrived just in time, Tabeo, exclaimed Naruto. To save her from being experimented on for one last time, yes, and it also appears we were just in time to stop this scientist from experimenting on the rest of the prisoners, but it appears as if there's a high likelihood that Orochimaru himself is in the base, commented Yamato. I believe we've scavenged as much information as we can from the base and we've managed to locate and retrieve as many prisoners as possible. Naruto, think you can make another clone and grab Isaribi? Asked Sakura. It appears as if she's under anesthesia so she should be out for some time still. Already ahead of you, commented a clone, who had the unconscious purple-haired girl on his back. Right. Kiba, grab Sai, ordered Yamato, getting a groan from Kiba as the Inuzuka reluctantly grabbed the unconscious Sai. Let's go. It was a quick journey back towards their point of entry into the base. However, they were soon met with resistance when they re-entered the room with a walkway and pools of water on either side of the walkways. I think you all have overstayed your welcome, called out a man wearing a black muscle shirt and small clear glasses that accompanied his sinister smirk on his face. Amachi-san is currently in an important meeting and cannot be disturbed. I'll ask you only once to surrender quietly. Yeah. And what can one guy do against the 7 of us? Retorted Kiba. Make that 8. I wouldn't mind hacking this guy apart after he and that freaky scientist threw me in that tank, said Suigetsu. Anyone got an extra blade to loan me? You know him? Asked Yamato. His name is Tsurugi Masumi, said Suigetsu. Suddenly, something came to the minds of Naruto, Sakura, Kiba, and Hinata. They had heard that name somewhere before. Hey, wasn't he on the traitor Kabuto's team during the first Chunin exams? Yeah, I remember now. He forfeited though before the fight even began, commented Kiba. That must mean he's pretty weak. And besides, there are 8 of us, only one of I am. Kiba soon ate his words as 9 of the Kaima creatures rose from the pools surrounding them. Now I'll only say this once more. Surrender, said Masumi. And leave you and this Amachi guy to experiment on these people. I don't think so, shouted Naruto, speaking for the group. We need to find a way to break through these guys without letting them through to the prisoners, said Yamato. Sakura, you and Hinata pull the prisoners back into the hallway and don't let any enemies through. Hinata, keep an eye behind you guys. Even though we've taken care of anything behind us, I wouldn't be surprised if something came up from behind. So does anyone have a sword I can borrow? Asked Suigetsu. Zabuza-senpai. Fine, here, said Zabuza, unsealing a disappointing training sword from a scroll he had on him and giving it to the Hazuka. Meh, it's not one of the 7 swords, but so long as it cuts, shrugged Suigetsu. Wanting to cut loose for the first time since being thrown in that tank, Suigetsu engaged one of the Kaimas and looked as if he was going to score a fatal blow with the first strike, until the sword met scale and was stopped in its tracks. This thing can't cut worth shit, complained Suigetsu. What the hell are you talking about? That blade could slice that mouth of yours clean off your face. Even though it's a training blade, I keep all my swords in top condition, defended Zabuza. You just suck as a swordsman. Now watch how it's done. Zabuza moved swiftly to cut the same Kaima which Suigetsu had failed on. His blade did slightly better than the Hozuki's, but even still, an attack that should have cleaved straight through a brick wall, only went about an inch or two. There's something odd about their skin. It's hard and strong and even I couldn't cut through, said Zabuza. Mokuten. Binding branches, called out Yamato as his arm transformed into a tree and branches shot out of his arm and immobilized 3 Kaimas. However, the bindings were short-lived as the Kaimas burst out of the bindings, using the fins they had on the side of their arms as blades to cut through the wooden bindings. And their fins appear to be like swords. HMPH, you're telling me, grunted Kiba as he clutched his now bleeding arm. He and Akamaru had attempted a Gatsuga on one of the Kaima, only for the Kaima to take a swing at Akamau. Kiba took the hit for his canine partner, resulting in the gash on his arm. Hey, a Byakugan. You might make a decent test subject for Amachi-san, grinned Masumi as he made a break for Hinata and Sakura while everyone else was busy fending off the Kaimas, who were proving much harder to kill than they initially suspected. Masumi swiped at Hinata with a knife blade, only for Hinata to duck, bend backwards and avoid the strike, responding with a Jusho strike. However, to Hinata's surprise, Misumi's body contorted in an unnatural way and he completely contorted around Hinata's strike before wrapping his body around her arm and then entangling around the rest of her body. What is this? Thought Hinata. No one's body should be able to bend like this. Hey, you like it? It's my soft physique modification technique that allows me to stretch and twist any part of my body. You won't be getting out of this anytime soon, and once the Kaima are done with your friends, I'll present you and your bloodline as a present to Amachi-san, grinned Masumi. Hinata, shouted Naruto as he saw the predicament his girlfriend was in, just as he dodged another Kaima attack. Naruto's Sage Mode had expired before they left the lab Isaribi was in, and at this point in time, he was unable to remain still long enough to gather enough natural energy to re-enter Sage Mode. He could utilize some of Kurama's chakra, and with Sai unconscious thanks to Hinata's unexpected outburst, but then there was Karen, Suigetsu, and even Orochimaru's lackey to worry about. And besides, he had promised Ero Sennin he'd think before using Kurama's chakra, and if he could handle the situation without resorting to using it, he would. I can get out of this. Just remember the technique Neji Nisan taught you, thought Hinata as she began to focus on every tenketsu in her body and building up her chakra at them. Juken. Body blow. Masumi didn't know what hit him as a massive force, originating from Hinata, knocked him off of her and sent him crashing into the wall just behind him. Nor was he expecting the excruciating pain from the following attack. Jusho. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Masumi felt his technique end and his body return to normal as there was now no more chakra flowing through the main parts of his body, and it wouldn't be returning anytime soon, if ever. Hinata, can you cover me for a few minutes? Called out Sakura as she sent one of the Kaima who tried attacking her flying clear across the room with a single punch. Nodding, Hinata fell back to the entrance to the hallway and Sakura retreated into the hall before pulling out a few blank senbon and a vial of some serum. A few minutes later, Hinata, they're ready, said Sakura before handing 9 senbon to Hinata. I noticed something in the blood of Sanjo last night and I think they are the enzymes that keep the Kaima transformation active. I was able to isolate those enzymes and create a serum to deactivate them. I've loaded these senbon with the serum, but as we've seen their scales are hard to be broken, especially with a senbon. However, I believe with your wind chakra, you will be able to make the senbon pierce through the scale. As if right on cue, Naruto's own sword cleanly cut through the scales on a Kaima he was fighting. The slice wasn't going to be deep anyways as the Kaima had taken a step backwards to avoid most of the strike, but Naruto's wind-encased sword cut cleanly through the scale armor, much to the jealousy of Suigetsu and Zabuza. Also, with the aid of your Byakugan, you have an accuracy that most of us can only dream of, said Sakura as she handed the senbon to Hinata. I'll do my best, replied Hinata as she held the first senbon in hand and took aim at the one which Haku had encased in thick ice. Channeling her wind chakra into the weapon, she threw it at her target's neck and the senbon pierced the scales, emptying the serum into the Kaima's bloodstream. The effects were almost instantaneous as the Kaima began to transform back into a human. Awesome. It worked, cheered Sakura. Yamato quickly realized what Sakura was doing and immobilized a Kaima near him, giving Hinata another clean shot. Like the first, this Kaima quickly returned to a human form, and if Yamato was correct, this man matched the description of one of the first missing villagers. Being the best in the group at immobilizing foes, Yamato and Haku quickly went to work, aiding Hinata's shots at the Kaima and soon, they were in the clear with 9 more rescued prisoners being carried by Naruto clones and a broken Masumi as their prisoner. That was great work there, Sakura. I'm impressed you were able to create an antidote to the Kaima transformation, complimented Yamato. Yeah, that was amazing, Sakura-chan, cheered Naruto. Now, the team of Konoha ninja stood outside their entrance to the main facility on Demon Island. Orochimaru and this Amachi must be in another facility on the island, said Yamato. The wood user quickly made a large boat, allowing the Naruto clones to dump their baggage somewhere before dispelling. Let's cripple the facility and get out of here. I have no desire to fight Orochimaru when we have the safety of these villagers to worry about. Right. Kai, shouted Naruto, making a hand seal to activate the explosive seals within the facility. A massive explosion rocked the island as the explosives quickly went to work, destroying the laboratory and any of the remaining experiments within. Another facility on the island, Orochimaru, Kabuto, and Amachi all felt a massive tremor rip through the island as they made their way to the window of the current building they were in. When they looked outside to observe what was happening, the mountain in which the main base and research facility was built and caved in on itself, burying all of Amaki's work with it. It appears as if we've had some visitors, said Orochimaru as he, Kabuto, and Amachi quickly shunshined to a better vantage point to see what all the commotion was about. Orochimaru gazed down on the boat making its way out of the cove of the island and immediately recognized one of the people on that boat. It appears as if the Kyuubi brat has left Jiraiya's nest. I wonder how strong he's gotten. You truly have disappointed me, Amachi. Not only have you presented me with nothing interesting, but you have allowed Konoha to infiltrate and destroy this valuable research base, scorned Orochimaru. Though I must be thanking Konoha, they saved me. The effort in doing what I was already going to do anyways. And not only that, but you have allowed them to get hold of the Uzumaki girl and Hazuka boy. This truly has been a waste of my time. No. Please Orochimaru-sama, allow me to prove to you that I am worthy. I'll reclaim the Uzumaki girl and Hazuka boy and kill the Konoha ninja for you, begged Amachi. Very well, Amachi, I'll give you one last chance to prove your use to me, said Orochimaru. Thank you, Orochimaru-sama, cried Amachi before turning to the cove in front of them and shunshining to the water. You're not seriously thinking of giving him another chance, questioned Kabuto. No, but he can at least be of use to me one last time. I doubt he'll be able to defeat the Konoha ninja, but perhaps he can provide me with a bit of entertainment in his final hour, chuckled Orochimaru. End chapter. Omaki, deleted scene. Another super pervert emerges. You do realize what exactly that statement's implying? Questioned Kurama with a perverted look creeping onto his face. Your little vixen's been peeping on you with those eyes of hers. Shut it, you arrow kitsune, I don't want to hear it. Argued Naruto. You can't deny it. Hell, I can smell the hormones from in here and even I don't need that to know that she's in heat. Now if I were you, I'd take advantage of this situation. I foresee a fun night hot and steamy kit making in your near future. Fucking pervert. Cried Naruto in his mind. Even without Arrow Sennin, he couldn't get away from the damned perverts. Kit, I think it's about time I tell you something else about me. I'm not a pervert, said Kurama as he let out a gawking and creepy laugh. I'm a super pervert. Some hot spring with incredibly hot and sexy women, Acho. A white-haired man sneezed. I sense a disturbance in the perv. Another super pervert has revealed himself. Not wanting to be outdone, Jiraiya leapt up from his hiding place, completely exposing himself, and assumed one of his poses. The gallant Jiraiya will seek out this so-called super pervert, and challenge him to a contest that only a true super pervert can win. There is only enough room in this world for one super pervert, and that is me. Eek. A pervert. Jiraiya was broken out of his stupor as he braced himself for the incoming beating of womanly fury.